Admiral Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of the ISS Vigilant, her eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing a three-dimensional rendering of the alien probe they'd captured in high Earth orbit. The object's sleek, almost organic design confirmed what they'd known all along. They weren't alone, and they weren't unprepared. "Status report," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of the moment. This wasn't humanity's first encounter with alien technology, but it was the first time they'd caught someone actively watching. Lieutenant Rodriguez's fingers danced across his console. "The probe's quantum encryption is sophisticated, Admiral, but nothing we haven't seen before. It matches the patterns we extracted from the Titan archives." Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Titan archives, humanity's greatest secret and their salvation. Discovered beneath the ice of Saturn's largest moon in 2082, the ancient alien database had given humanity a head start they desperately needed. For over a century, they'd been quietly preparing, building, and waiting. "Have they noticed we've compromised their probe?" Chen asked, though she already knew the answer. The quantum entanglement detection systems they'd reversed engineered from the archives were infallible. "Negative, Admiral. Our counterintelligence protocols are holding. As far as they can tell, their probe is still functioning normally, transmitting carefully curated data we're feeding it. The real data, the massive orbital defense platforms, the quantum shield generators, the antimatter production facilities hidden in the asteroid belt, remained invisible to their watchers. Let them see what they expected to see, a promising but relatively primitive species just beginning to venture beyond their cradle." "Commander Phillips, what's the status of Operation Looking Glass?" Chen turned to her strategic operations officer, a woman whose genius with predictive algorithms had earned her this posting. "The quantum probability engines are running at full capacity, Admiral. They're processing the probe's signal characteristics against the archives database. We should have a match for their civilization profile within hours." Chen nodded, approaching the massive viewport that looked out over Earth. Somewhere out there, an advanced alien civilization was watching, planning, perhaps preparing for conquest. They didn't know that humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment. The archives had been clear. The galaxy was not a peaceful place. Every technological civilization eventually faced a choice: expand or be expanded upon. But humanity had been given a gift: foreknowledge. The archives hadn't just contained technology. They'd contained warnings, histories, and most importantly, a quantum computing core capable of calculating probable futures with frightening accuracy. "Admiral," Rodriguez's voice cut through her thoughts, "we're detecting quantum fluctuations consistent with a cloaked observation vessel at the edge of the Kuiper Belt." "Right on schedule," Chen muttered. "The probability engines had predicted this weeks ago. Maintain our current posture. Let them think their stealth technology is beyond our detection capabilities." She turned to address her command staff. "Ladies and gentlemen, we're entering Phase 2 of First Contact Protocol. Everything we've prepared for, everything we've built, it's all been leading to this moment. Humanity knows something they don't expect us to know, and that advantage has kept us alive for over a century. Let's make sure it continues to do so." As her officers acknowledged their orders, Chen couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. Humanity had taken the warnings from the archives and turned them into a shield, building a defense infrastructure that would make any potential invader think twice. They'd done it all in secret, maintaining a careful facade of normal technological progression, while quantum computers hidden in underground bunkers calculated possible futures and guided their preparations. The alien probe hung silently in space, its observers unaware that their quarry had long since evolved beyond their expectations. Humanity wasn't just ready for first contact, they were ready for what came after. And soon, very soon, their watchers would learn just how badly they'd underestimated Earth's defenders. "Begin transmitting Protocol 7 data packets," Chen ordered. "Let's show our visitors exactly what we want them to see." The carefully crafted deception would continue, each false data point drawing their observers toward an inevitable conclusion. Earth was not worth the cost of conquest. In the depths of space, humanity's true capabilities remained hidden, a sword of Damocles waiting to fall. The game of shadows and secrets had begun, and humanity, for once, held all the cards. 2 kilometers beneath the ice of Titan, Dr. Maya Patel walked through the crystalline corridors of humanity's most closely guarded secret. The walls of the archive pulsed with a soft, blue-green bioluminescence, a living technology that had taken decades to understand. Each step she took triggered subtle changes in the light patterns, the facility acknowledging her presence through methods that still bordered on magical, even after years of study. The probability engines are showing increased activity, her colleague, Dr. James Foster, said as he fell into step beside her. They haven't been this active since we first discovered the archive. Maya nodded, her breath misting in the carefully maintained cold of the facility. The temperature wasn't for human comfort, it was what the archive's quantum processors needed to function optimally. They're processing the data from our visitor's probe. Every bit of information we gather narrows down their identity. They reached the central chamber, a vast spherical space dominated by the archive's heart. A massive crystalline structure that somehow managed to be both solid and liquid simultaneously. Streams of data flowed through it in patterns that resembled neural networks, each pulse carrying quantities of information that would overwhelm conventional computers. "Show me the latest predictions," Maya commanded. The archive responded immediately, projecting a holographic display that filled the chamber. Probability streams branched and merged, showing possible futures with varying degrees of certainty. There, James pointed to a particular cluster of high-probability outcomes. The engines are becoming more certain about our observer's identity. They match patterns from the Nexus Confederation, a species group mentioned multiple times in the archive's historical records. Maya studied the data streams with practiced eyes. Aggressive expansionists, but cautious. They prefer to study potential conquests thoroughly before committing resources. She allowed herself a grim smile. They're in for quite a surprise. A subtle vibration ran through the facility, and new data streams began to materialize in the holographic display. "That's coming from the Deep Space Monitoring Array," James said, his voice tense. "Multiple quantum wake signatures detected at the edge of the solar system. They're bringing in more observers," Maya concluded, just as the engines predicted. "Begin Protocol Echo 7. Throughout the solar system, carefully hidden quantum sensors began adjusting their parameters, preparing to gather every scrap of information from the newcomers. Each piece of data would feed back to the archive, improving its predictions, helping humanity stay steps ahead of their watchers. Maya approached one of the archive's interface nodes, organic-looking pedestals that responded to human thought and touch. As her hands made contact with its surface, she felt the familiar sensation of connecting with something vast and ancient. The archive had chosen humanity as its custodians, though they still didn't fully understand why. Perhaps it had recognized something in them, a potential that needed nurturing and guidance. "The original builders of the archive," she mused aloud, "they left all this for us to find. They must have had a reason." James joined her at the interface. The historical records suggest they were running from something that even their level of technology couldn't defeat. Maybe they saw in humanity the potential for a different approach. New alert signals pulsed through the chamber. The probability engines had completed another analysis cycle, and the results were troubling. Maya's eyes widened as she absorbed the information flooding through the interface. "James, look at this," she said, directing his attention to a particular probability stream. "The engines are detecting patterns they've never shown before. Something's changed in the calculations." The holographic display shifted, showing a new set of probable futures. In most of them, the Nexus Confederation's observers were just the beginning. There were other watchers out there, hidden even from their advanced sensors. "We need to contact Admiral Chen," Maya decided. "The game is more complex than we thought. We're not dealing with a single potential adversary. We're dealing with multiple competing interests. Some of them may even be working at cross purposes. As if in response to her realization, the archive's crystalline heart pulsed with increased intensity. New data streams began to form, showing possibilities that hadn't existed moments before. The quantum processors were working at unprecedented levels, trying to calculate outcomes for scenarios too complex for human minds to grasp. "The archive is worried," James whispered, watching the cascade of calculations with growing concern. "In all my years working here, I've never seen it process data this intensively." Maya's fingers flew across the interface, marking critical data points for immediate transmission to the ISS Vigilant. "It's not just worried," she corrected him. "It's preparing us. Something's coming. Something even the archive's builders feared. And now we have to figure out how to face it." The ancient facility hummed with power as it worked, its alien technology straining to provide humanity with the information they needed to survive what was coming. Above them, hidden in the ice of Titan, quantum transmitters began broadcasting encrypted warnings to Earth's defense network. The game of shadows was about to become far more dangerous than anyone had anticipated. High Scout Zexnar slouched in his command chair aboard the stealth vessel Whispered Shadow, his crystalline eyes fixed on the holographic display of Earth. Something wasn't right. The data from their long-range probe had been perfect, too perfect. Every observation matched their predictive models exactly, and in his 3 centuries of reconnaissance, Zexnar had never seen that happen. "High Scout," his sensor officer called out, her voice carrying the harmonic overtones of concern. "I'm detecting anomalies in our quantum wake signature." "Explain," Zexnar demanded, straightening in his chair. "The humans' orbital installations. They're producing gravity waves that shouldn't be possible with their level of technology. But they're so faint, so well masked, that I almost missed them." Zexnar felt his secondary heart skip a beat. "Show me." The holographic display shifted, highlighting dozens of seemingly innocent satellites and space stations. But when viewed through the ship's quantum analyzers, each installation blazed with carefully hidden energy signatures. The humans weren't just monitoring their observers, they were doing it with technology that should have been centuries beyond their reach. "Send a priority message to the Nexus Command," Zexnar ordered. "Authentication code Omega 9. Message begins. Possible Class 7 civilization masquerade detected. Requesting immediate consultation and—" "Sir," the sensor officer's voice cracked with alarm. "Multiple quantum signatures detected at extreme range. Non-Nexus configurations." The holographic display expanded, showing the outer edges of the solar system. 3 distinct energy signatures appeared, each belonging to stealth vessels of different design. The humans weren't just being watched by the Nexus Confederation. They were being studied by multiple spacefaring civilizations. "Impossible," Zexnar whispered. "The probability of multiple first contact scenarios occurring simultaneously." "Sir, there's more," his tactical officer interrupted. "I've been analyzing the humans' global communication networks. The public channels show exactly what we'd expect. Entertainment, commerce, politics. But there's something else beneath it all. Patterns that suggest." "Suggest what?" "They're putting on a show, sir. The entire civilization is maintaining a carefully crafted facade. And they've been doing it for what appears to be at least a century." Zexnar's mind raced. The implications were staggering. If the humans had known they were being watched, if they had somehow prepared for this moment, it meant every scrap of intelligence the Nexus had gathered was suspect. "New contact." The sensor officer's crystalline form pulsed with agitation. "Quantum wake signature detected within the asteroid belt. Sir, it's ancient." The display shifted again, showing something that shouldn't exist. Energy patterns that matched records from long before the Nexus Confederation had achieved spaceflight. The same patterns described in restricted archives, spoken of only in whispered legends among the highest ranks of Nexus leadership. "By the first light," Zexnar breathed. "They found one." The humans found an archive. The pieces began falling into place. The two perfect observations, the hidden technology, the coordinated planetary deception. It all made sense if the humans had access to an archive. The ancient repositories of knowledge left scattered across the galaxy by a civilization so advanced they had transcended physical form. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice was barely audible, "I'm detecting changes in the quantum signatures from Earth. They're acknowledging us. All of us. Every observer in the system." The main display came alive with a simple text message, broadcast simultaneously in every known language of the galaxy. "We see you. We've always seen you. Perhaps it's time we talked." Zexnar felt a sensation he hadn't experienced since his training days. Fear, not of the humans' weapons or their hidden technology, but of what it meant that they had managed to hide their true nature for so long. Any civilization capable of such coordination, such patience, such absolute control of information, was not to be underestimated. "Send another message to Nexus Command," he ordered. "Priority absolute. Message begins. Archive-empowered civilization confirmed. Human technological level grossly underestimated. Recommend immediate diplomatic contact before." The ship's quantum sensors screamed a warning. Throughout the solar system, massive energy signatures began to appear as humanity's hidden defenses revealed themselves. Orbital platforms that had appeared dormant came alive with power readings that rivaled small stars. Hidden installations across the asteroid belt unveiled weapon systems that made Nexus technology look primitive by comparison. In that moment, Zexnar understood the truth that would shake the foundations of galactic society. Humanity hadn't just been preparing for first contact. They had been preparing to change the very nature of interstellar relations, and they had chosen this moment, with representatives from multiple civilizations present, to reveal their true capabilities. The game of shadows was over. A new era was about to begin, and for the first time in his long career, Zexnar had no idea what would happen next. Admiral Chen stood in the Archive's central chamber on Titan, surrounded by representatives from 3 of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. The crystalline structure pulsed with patterns of light that reflected off their varied forms, the crystalline bodies of the Nexus delegation, the energy-wrapped constructs of the Meridian Collective, and the biomechanical forms of the Syntharch Alliance. "You understand now why we revealed ourselves," Chen said, her voice carrying through the universal translators. "The Archive showed us what was coming. All of you, watching us, preparing your own plans, while something far worse approaches galactic space." The Meridian representative, a swirling vortex of contained plasma, pulsed with what the translators interpreted as disbelief. "Your quantum probability engines, they're more advanced than anything we've achieved." "How?" "Because we approached them differently." Dr. Maya Patel stepped forward, gesturing at the flowing data streams around them. "We didn't try to control the quantum calculations like your civilizations did. We let them evolve, merge with our artificial intelligence systems. We created something new." The Archive's display shifted, showing probability streams that extended far beyond the solar system. Vast patterns of movement appeared, representing something massive approaching from intergalactic space. 3 months ago, our systems detected these patterns, Chen continued. The Archive's builders, they didn't just leave us their technology. They left us a warning. They saw this coming centuries ago. That's why they scattered the Archives across the galaxy. They were preparing us, all of us, for what they couldn't stop. The Syntharch representative, a towering figure of living metal, stepped closer to the display. "These patterns, they match ancient records in our deepest archives, stories of what drove our ancestors to develop our biomechanical forms." "The Void Swarm," the Nexus High Scout Zexnar whispered, his crystalline form dimming slightly. "We thought they were legends, stories to frighten younglings." The holographic display zoomed out further, showing the full scope of what approached. A vast cloud of quantum-entangled consciousness, consuming everything in its path. Not a civilization, but a force of nature that had evolved beyond physical form, beyond normal space-time itself. This is why we hid our true capabilities, Chen explained. Why we maintained the facade of a developing civilization. We needed to understand how each of you would approach us, what technologies you possessed, how you thought. The archive showed us that survival depends on unity, on combining our different approaches to science and warfare. And your probability engines can predict their movements. The Meridian representative's energy field fluctuated with intense interest. Maya nodded, interfacing with the archive. The display shifted again, showing countless possible futures. We've run billions of simulations. Fighting them conventionally is impossible. They exist partly outside normal spacetime. But together, combining your energy manipulation, their quantum crystalline technology, their biomechanical adaptation, and our evolved AI systems, we have a chance, Chen finished. But only if we work together. That's why we revealed ourselves now, with all of you present. The archive's builders didn't choose humanity because we were special. They chose us because we were adaptable, because we could take their technology in directions they hadn't imagined. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity hadn't been preparing for first contact or invasion. They'd been preparing to unite the galaxy's civilizations against an existential threat. Our weapons platforms. Chen gestured to another display showing Earth's defense network. They're not designed to fight your ships. They're designed to create a quantum interference pattern on a solar system scale. Combined with your technologies, we might be able to create a barrier that even the Void Swarm can't penetrate. The alien representatives exchanged looks, their various forms expressing emotions that transcended the barriers of biology and culture. They were seeing humanity in a new light, not as potential conquests or rivals, but as the custodians of perhaps the galaxy's last hope. The archive's builders, the Synth-Arch representative's mechanical voice resonated through the chamber. They seeded the galaxy with their knowledge, knowing that eventually, one species would understand enough to unite the others, to succeed where they failed. Yes, Maya confirmed, her hands dancing across the interface as new probability streams formed. But we don't have much time. The Void Swarm will reach the galaxy's edge in less than 5 years. We need to begin preparations immediately. Admiral Chen looked at each of the alien representatives in turn. You came here expecting to find a primitive civilization ripe for conquest or manipulation. Instead, you found partners in survival. The question is, are you ready to set aside your rivalries and work together? Because what's coming doesn't care about our differences. It only cares about consuming everything in its path. The archive's heart pulsed brighter, its quantum processors calculating the probabilities of their next decisions. The fate of not just humanity, but all sapient life in the galaxy, hung in the balance. The Sol system had changed dramatically in the months following humanity's revelation, where once Earth's defenses had been carefully hidden. Now massive quantum array platforms hung in open view, their crystalline structures grown from Nexus technology merged with human AI systems. The asteroid belt bristled with Meridian energy collectors, gathering the power needed for the greatest engineering project in galactic history. Admiral Chen watched from the observation deck of the new Joint Command Station as another Synth-Arch construction fleet arrived through the quantum gate network they'd helped establish. The biomechanical ships immediately began integrating themselves into the growing defensive matrix that would eventually span the entire solar system. The probability calculations are improving, Maya reported, studying the latest data streams from the archive. With each new addition to the network, our chances of successfully creating the quantum barrier increase. High Scout Zexinar, now serving as the Nexus liaison to the Joint Defense Project, moved his crystalline form closer to the displays. To think, just months ago, we were planning how best to subjugate your world. Now we're building something that even the archive's builders never attempted. They didn't have what we have, Chen replied, gesturing to the bustling activity around them. The command station was a testament to what different species could achieve together. Meridian energy technology powering Synth-Arch biomechanical systems, guided by human AI, and protected by Nexus quantum fields. Speaker Chen, a Meridian representative, materialized beside them, their energy form contained within a specially designed interface field. The first tests of the combined barrier technology are ready to begin. The group moved to the central command hub, where representatives from all 4 civilizations worked in seamless coordination. The display showed the test site, a remote section of the Kuiper Belt, where they'd constructed a miniature version of their planned defense system. Initiating quantum field generation, the Nexus technical officer announced. Crystalline energy matrices hummed to life. Meridian power systems at full capacity. Came the next report as streams of pure energy began flowing through the construct. Syntharch adaptation protocols active. The biomechanical systems began reshaping themselves in response to the energy flows. Human eye networks online. Maya confirmed, watching as their artificial intelligence systems began coordinating the complex dance of technologies. Beginning quantum probability calculations, the test barrier sprang into existence, a shimmering wall of reality itself, where normal spacetime met something else entirely. The archive's displays blazed with data as its quantum processors analyzed the results. "It's working," Maya breathed, studying the readings. "The barrier is stable at all quantum levels. Theory suggests even the void swarm's consciousness couldn't penetrate this. But can we scale it up?" Zexnar asked the question on everyone's mind. "Creating this on a solar system scale. We can." Chen's voice was firm. "Because we have to. The latest projections show the void swarm accelerating. We have 4 years, not 5. The command hub erupted in new activity as the successful test data was transmitted to construction teams throughout the system. The race against time had begun in earnest. "There's something else," Maya said quietly, drawing Chen and the other leaders aside. "The archive's calculations show possibilities we hadn't considered. The barrier technology, once established, could be used for more than defense. It could allow us to explore parts of reality the archive's builders only theorized about." "You mean we could?" Zexnar's crystalline form pulsed with excitement. "Yes," Chen nodded. "We could potentially find them, the archive's builders. The calculations suggest they didn't die out. They transcended, found a way to exist in spaces between normal reality. But they couldn't take everyone with them. That's why they left the archives, hoping that eventually we'd all be ready to follow." The alien representatives absorbed this revelation in stunned silence. What had begun as a desperate plan for survival was becoming something more. A potential evolutionary leap for all their civilizations. "First things first," Chen reminded them, turning back to the displays showing the growing defensive network. "We have to survive the void swarm. After that, we explore the impossible together." As if in response to her words, the archive's quantum processors produced a new calculation. The probability streams showed something they'd never seen before. A future extending beyond the void swarm's arrival, showing not just survival, but transformation. The combined knowledge and technology of 4 civilizations, guided by the archive's ancient wisdom, was opening doors that none of them could have approached alone. In the space around them, construction continued at a feverish pace. Ships and stations from all 4 civilizations moved in coordinated patterns, building humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not just a shield against destruction, but a bridge to something greater. The Watchers had become allies, the Observed had become teachers, and together they were writing a new chapter in the story of intelligent life. High above Earth, where it all began, the first full-scale quantum barrier generator neared completion. Its massive form represented everything they'd achieved. The marriage of 4 different approaches to science and engineering, guided by human ingenuity and the archive's calculations. It stood as a testament to the truth that humanity had discovered in the archive so long ago. The greatest achievements don't come from conquest or competition, but from cooperation and understanding. The game of shadows had ended. The age of unity had begun.